and gentlemen, welcome to the Chabad One dinner. Allow me to begin with one story. In 1932, in Riga, Lithuania, Leah Merkin's sister Freda was heavily pregnant and desperately ill. The doctors in the hospital warned her that if she didn't abort her baby, she would die. Frantic with panic, she told her sister Leah to run as fast as she could to the nearest synagogue and pray. Leah ran. She found a shawl, and pulling on the curtain of the ark, she prayed and she sobbed. Suddenly, a stranger tapped her on the shoulder and said, "Follow me." And to her amazement, she was taken to meet the 6th Lubavitch Rebbe. He gave her a blessing and assured her that her sister and the baby would be well. And she rushed back to the hospital, clutching this very blessing we see here. On arriving at the hospital, Leah found her sister and newborn niece, Miriam, in perfect health. Leah was my Bubba, my grandmother, and she was a deeply religious woman. She taught me to say the Shema at bedtime, but I must admit that over the years I forgot to say it. Until one day, Rabbi Levi Sudak reminded me of the importance of saying the Shema to my own children. And we brought back this special tradition into our family. Unfortunately, I never knew my Leah's father, Rabbi Israel Merkin, who was born in Russia in 1875. I learned he was a very respected rabbi and that he traveled selling Jewish books across Eastern Europe in very dangerous conditions. Tonight, our pop-up bookshop is in the merit of my late great-grandfather, seen here in this photograph, with Miriam's younger brother. We want to honor him and all the pious men who dedicated themselves to the spreading Jewish knowledge and wisdom in the most harshest of times. And we are delighted that these books have been sponsored so that all the proceeds will be donated in their merit. For many of us, our heritage is what defines our values and the connection we have to one another. I'm sure many of us in this room have been comforted by Chabad in times of crisis or celebrated with Chabad in times of joy. Just last week, I picked up our daughter from South Hampstead's Cheder. She was so excited. She was wearing a little paper hat. She just learned how to bake matzah. It was a project organized by Chabad. Now, sometimes Chabad's involvement and influence is so subtle, it can go unnoticed. It might be its investment in educating our future rabbis in Chabad schools, or more noticeably, leading our community in national displays of Jewish pride, with public menorah lightings across our country, with thousands celebrating in Trafalgar Square, and 6,000 donuts being eaten and enjoyed by Jews and non-Jews alike. This year, Chabad expanded the Jewish Learning Institute's adult learning program to 13 new locations. This dynamic course includes the latest research and cutting-edge presentations, and it is offered simultaneously not only nationally, but globally. This means that if I find myself in Mumbai or St. Petersburg one Wednesday night, I don't have to miss my Chabad course. I just have to look up my nearest center in my Chabad passport, which lists over 3,000 centers. And I can personally recommend JLI, as I recently attended a fascinating course on the journey of the soul. I enjoyed it so much that I went and attended another course at West Hampstead on the Jewish course of why. After all, how often do we take the opportunity to stop and learn? And it doesn't really matter the level of the learning, it's the learning and the growing that's important. It's being able to take advantage of our right to learn, as we are fortunate enough to have Chabad here to make this learning accessible and relevant to us in our modern day. Now, it would be remiss of me to welcome you to a Chabad dinner without paying tribute to the late Lubavitcher Rebbe, Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who inspired thousands to become his shlochim, his emissaries, to take up Jewish engagement in over 80 countries. Now, how did this one man do it? Well, he redirected what was traditionally a religious community focused on spirituality and scholarship, and he redirected that focus to activism, outreach, and the responsibility for Jewish destiny. Now, despite this small Hasidic group being crushed by the Holocaust and the brutal persecution of communist Russia, defying all odds, Chabad has become the greatest and the fastest growing Jewish organization in history. We are honored to welcome here 50 of our 115 UK shlochim, and we would like to thank them for their dedication. And the more money we raise, the less they will have to fundraise. So they can focus on making a greater impact on each of us and doing what they do best. Now, tonight, I will have the great pleasure of presenting flowers to Mrs. Sudak, who, together with her late husband, Rabbi Nachman Sudak, the Rebbe sent here as his personal emissaries, to thank her and all the UK shlochim for their lifetime of leadership. Now, before I conclude, I must, of course, mention tonight's extra playful Purim theme. As many here know, the festival of Purim is about the salvation of the Jewish people in ancient Persia from the evil Haman's plot. You're supposed to boo, okay. And as with all our holidays, we were persecuted, we survived, so now let's eat. But just before we do, I would like to emphasize one more thing. That unlike other charities which focus on one mission, Chabad's work is truly so immense that I haven't even touched upon all they do. And I can't possibly do it justice in one speech. So instead, I would like to try and sum it up, Chabad, in one breath. Here goes. It's a vibrant, modern thinking, give it to me in the context of today, non-threatening, non-preaching, not trying to make me be something I am not. No strings attached, focused on outreach, helping me learn about my heritage, who I am, why I'm here, how I make the world better, caring about me as the one I am, just simply Jewish, Chabad. So now, please join me. You will find vodka shots and whiskey shots on your table, and in Chabad style, let's drink a l'chaim together. To life, to Chabad, to all our parents, our grandparents, and our great-grandparents, and to our children and grandchildren to come. L'chaim.